Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Victor Quintana, and I talk about photography, videography, fashion photography, how to work with models, and more importantly, Leica specific gear reviews. So if that kind of stuff interests you, stick around. Alright guys, so today I have a bit of a treat for you. I will be comparing the Leica M50 Summilux with the Leica SL2 Suimmicron. Now both of these lenses I actually used on my SL2. The 50M lens I was actually able to use with an addition of the M to L adapter, which is what you need in order to use these lenses on the SL. And this SL lens obviously fits natively. Now, I kind of want to just break down a couple of key features of each lens, and then we'll jump into some images comparing the two. Alrighty. So the first thing that you notice about the Summicron lenses from Leica for the SL system is the sheer size of them. I mean, this 50mm compared to this 24-90, it's a substantial size difference. I mean, as you can see, I hope this is focusing correctly. It's a substantial size difference for sure. And that's awesome because back when I was working with Leica, the number one thing that people would complain about not using the SL with the 24-90 specifically was the fact of how heavy and how large the camera footprint was. I mean, if you throw this on to the SL2, God, I love that bayonet now. I mean, this is a big camera. It's heavy. It's not something that you want to be traveling around with. Thing's huge. So I get it. I understand. So the fact that Leica decided to make these prime lenses, sorry for that sound effect, is pretty awesome because, I mean, this becomes substantially lighter. It's easier to travel with. I mean, my hand usually would not get tired with these lenses. God, it's so pretty, isn't it? Like oh my God, sexy. I just love the way the SL2 looks with these prime lenses. But I digress. Now, on top of this lens in particular is super fast at autofocusing due to the fact that it has extremely powerful stepping motors with a dual synchro drive. So when I'm out shooting with any of the prime lenses, whether that be the 90, the 75, this 50, or the 35, I know that I don't have to worry about my autofocus because it's A, gonna be tack sharp, and B, extremely fast. Now, another great thing about these prime lenses is the fact that they all open up to f2, and in low light situations, that is phenomenal because the 24-90 and the 16-35 and the 90-280, all three are varying apertures. So at the longest focal distance, it's a little bit hard to shoot in low light because you're usually at about f4. So having the constant f2 on these is phenomenal. And as Leica always says, it's always better to shoot Leica lenses completely wide open. So that's what I love about this. Now, one thing you'll also notice is that the filter size is different from the 24-90 and the other zoom lenses. This filter size is an E67, so you will need to invest in those. Typically, I do not use filters unless it's an ND filter when I'm filming, but as time goes on, I'm realizing the fact that, you know, we invest so much money in these lenses, it's a no-brainer to have just a UV filter on the front because I've seen videos of people dropping their lenses with filters on and the filter takes all the trauma to it and cracks and gets destroyed. Meanwhile, the lens is completely fine. So before, you know, I become Captain Hindsight, I will invest in some UV filters and I suggest you do the same. Moving on. Now, the last thing I'll mention as far as the build of this lens is the fact that it does have 12 lens elements and 3 of them are actually aspherical. This puppy is really gonna resolve some really nice images. I'm excited to show you what I got. Moving on to the M50 Summilux. Now, if you thought that SL50 Suimmicron was small, look at that, huh? That's a tiny lens, okay? I mean, yeah, that's a really small lens. So I don't have my M to L adapter here, but you can kind of see here what the footprint of this camera would be, could be. Just gonna balance it there for a hot second. I mean, using M lenses with the SL system or SL2 is phenomenal, especially for traveling. And this is actually one of my go-to lenses for traveling. I recently was in California, and this was the only lens I was using for street photography, and it was absolutely phenomenal. We'll check out some images soon. Now, the really nice thing about this lens, besides the sheer size of it, is the manual focusing system that it has. So it's a completely manual lens, which is great to use on the SL and SL2 because the EVF of those cameras is so bright and so large that it is super easy to nail focus every time using these lenses. And I say that more so for either street, landscape, or product. As I stated before, I don't love using these lenses for model shoots just because the model's moving so much in so many different directions, back and forth, side to side. It's a little bit harder to nail focus. You can definitely do it. Don't get me wrong. You can definitely achieve or produce a model test shoot just using M glass on any of the digital bodies, but it's definitely more challenging. The other great thing about these M lenses is the high resolution it delivers and the high contrast. And that is made possible because of the floating element, special glass types with unique refraction properties. Now, another cool thing about these M lenses is this 6-bit encoding that this one has here. Now, any Leica manual M lens that was made after 1963, I believe, you might need to double check that on for me, but I believe it's from 1963 and on. You can actually get them 6-bit encoded. Basically what this 6-bit code does is it lets the digital bodies recognize what type of lens it is. Any of those old lenses that you have from any old M3s, M6s, stuff like that, as long as it's a bayonet mount that you can mount to the M to L adapter, and it was produced after 1963, you can actually get that 6-bit encoded. And that information not only tells the camera what type of lens it is, but it's also embedded in your metadata as well. Now, there is one lens that cannot be 6-bit encoded no matter the production year, and that is the 135mm f3.4. I forget off the top of my head why, but I always remember that that lens specifically cannot be 6-bit encoded. And actually, I'll put a link down below of all the lenses that are able to be upgraded with the coding, so you can check that in the caption and comments below. All right, guys, so now that we've kind of talked about the two lenses a little bit, I kind of want to jump into the computer and show you a side-by-side comparison between the two. They're both taken on the same camera, so settings and everything like that is pretty much going to be the same. The only difference is maybe my aperture was a little bit different, considering that the Summicron SL50 only goes to f2, whereas the Summilux opens up to 1.4, but everything else should be a constant. So let's head over to the computer and check that out. All right, guys, so now we are in front of the computer. I've gone ahead and made some selects already. These are straight out of the camera. There's no editing involved with any of these. So the way that I've broken them down, you'll see red labels and yellow labels. So the reds are the ones taken with the M50 Summilux, and the yellow are the images taken with the SL50 Summicron. So let's go ahead and dive in here, shall we? Let's compare. I think the easiest way is going to compare these portraits here. So let me just grab this one and let's do this one here. Alrighty. So as you can see, the one on the right, I mean, me personally, I can clearly notice without even looking at the metadata. I don't know, tomato. Anywho, I digress. So the one on the right, it clearly stands out to me because of the fall off. The bokeh is just, I've been shooting with M lenses long enough to know the difference here. So you can see this fall off here is substantially, that's a little too zoomed in here, substantially different. It's a little bit more dreamy, more faded, whereas this one here is a little bit more crisp on the 50 SL. Now, as you can see, the focus here on the 50M, it ended up being mostly on the lips here, whereas you can see on the 50 SL at f2, her entire face is sharp and in focus. So there is a bit of a trade-off on using those M lenses, but I love the dreamy aspect of it. I mean, looking at it like this, it kind of looks like her eye and lips are in focus, even though her eye really is not that sharp. But again, people are going to be looking at these images primarily on Instagram and Facebook, so the size is, the image is going to be small anyways, but you can clearly see the difference in those. Now let's go back. All right, again, the one on the left here is the Summilux, and the one on the right here is the Suimmicron. So we'll go in here, and again, you can see here the fall off is very, like, I don't want to say muddy, but it's, the fall off is just a lot smoother than what it is using the Summicron. But again, we run into the issue, oh, well, now I'm noticing that the one using the Summicron actually is not fully in focus either. I guess I must have had, what was my shutter speed at here? 1/60th. I mean, for the most part, like, it's her cheek that's really in focus here, but on the 50 Summilux, you'll see again, I just got her lips and chin a little bit there, but her eyes are still very soft. So it's a bit of a trade-off. You know, the autofocus for the most part is going to get you where you want the focus point to be, but using that 50 Summilux, it's just a different style of shooting, really. To give you another example here, let's go outside and we'll compare. No. So here again on the right now is the Summilux, and on the left is the Summicron. So we'll go in here, and it looks like I completely missed focus on her face with the Summicron here. It looks like the focus kind of is on the top part of her chest and the necklace there, whereas the Summilux, it's pretty much focused again just on her lips, a little bit on the cheek there, but her eyes are still kind of soft. But again, like I said before, it's gonna be viewed on your phone, super tiny, so you're really not gonna be able to tell. So here, again, right off the bat, I can tell the left is a Summilux because it's a little bit brighter, the image, so that means I was opened up a little bit more at 1.4, whereas the one on the right is a Summilux, and though I was open to 2.0, the widest that lens goes, it's still fairly darker than what the 1.4 is. So here you can see, I definitely nailed the focus there, although it's a little bit grainy and muddy because, let me see what I have my ISO on. My ISO for this was at 400 on both, and they were both shot at 1/500th of a second. But again, on the Summilux, you see that it did not nail focus on her face. Let's see, is there focus anywhere here? Oh, it looks like the main focus was here on her fingers. So I mean, you can tell like the plane of the focal plane, you know, her hand is a few inches in front of her face there, whereas on the Summilux, I specifically aimed at her face, so you see that her eyes are actually a lot sharper. And I'm just gonna bring up the exposure a little bit. Let's see if we can. Yeah, I mean, you can see there that her eyes are definitely in focus here. And like I said, it's just slight differences. Here, the bokeh, you can't really tell the difference because it's kind of a further away shot. And so you don't really get the difference in the bokeh. Where you really see the difference is back in those portrait photos. That's where you're really, I mean, you can clearly see this bokeh is substantially different than, you know, this bokeh. A little bit more detailed. It's got this like circular, like tube pattern almost, kind of like you're looking to I forget what those things are called when you're a kid looking through it. It's not a telescope, a stethoscope or some sort of scope. You know what I'm talking about. Anywho's. And then compared to, you know, these over here, the bokeh is a little bit more natural, and it kind of doesn't really create that tunnel vision pattern that you see in these here. All right guys, so I also wanted to show you some other travel photos using just the 50 Summilux. This was a recent trip that I went to California. My friend Eddie looking oh so dapper. Let me see what the focus here was. See, it's not entirely sharp, but that's kind of like the beauty of these M lenses and the manual focusing. It's not always going to be, did I get these flowers in sharpness? I mean, it's pretty sharp right here, that's for sure. These are kind of like gross ass flowers though. Let me see some other examples here. And one thing here, when I mentioned to you guys about the resolution and the high resolution capabilities of these manual lenses, look at that. Wait for it. Damn, that's sharp. And I mean, you see how far away that person is? That's pretty awesome. Also, it was during the times of the fires when I was over there, so it's, as you can clearly see, it's very smoky. But I mean, man, do I love the colors straight out of this camera. Oh, just absolutely beautiful. See anything in particular in this photo? Boom, got him. Taking a little smoke break on the phone. Look at that sharpness. That was actually, I was really happy with this shot. Again, none of these are edited, FYI, but that was, when we were walking, I saw this person's hands. I saw I don't know if that's like a Juul or one of those electric cigarettes. And then just on the phone, I was like, man, that's a cool scene. So anywho, these are all with the 50 Summilux. Love this photo actually. Haven't seen any meat marketing plants like that in a long time. So that was cool. I mean, just the colors straight out of the camera were just absolutely phenomenal. Let's see if I got a crisp focus here. I mean, that's pretty good right there, right on the tip of the avocado there. Oh man, look at the seeds on the bread. Damn, you can clearly see the plane of focus here, just right in the middle of that bread. It's pretty awesome though. But again, the resolution of this lens, I don't know if this is a good example. That's not a good example because I did miss focus. Here, I think I nailed the focus. Nope, I did not. Let's see what is in focus. I guess it landed on the door behind them. Yeah, so it was a little behind them because these gates over here are a little bit more in focus than they are. But I mean, I love this lens. Look at this. Even that's pretty oh no, my focus was on this like fence link here. Missed the guy, but this was such a quick moment. We were walking by, I saw the little alleyway and boom, saw it. I think I took 2 shots. No, not even, just the 1 shot, and kept moving. Let's see, did I get that sharp? Yeah, there's room for improvement there for sure, but still beautiful fall off. Man, look how smoky. Usually you can see, I don't know, it's hard to tell, but there is a massive building here. There's a couple of buildings here. You can't see anything because of all the smoke. That was a wild time to be over there. Man, but look at how the lighting, oh my goodness. Look at that, that is tag sharp. I got my buddy super sharp. That is awesome. Beautiful lighting right there. That was one plus of the smoke, was basically it turned the entire sky into a huge softbox, which was Awesome photograph. Okay, check out this photo. So here I saw this guy literally walking. I saw him start walking over here by the steps. And I saw the two trees and I was like, I gotta get this guy in between these two trees. And it looks like I might have missed focus on him a little bit. I think the focus is over on this tree, a little bit here, but I thought that was an awesome shot. And again, look how far away I am. And I'm sure I can print this and it would be an awesome big print, like, I don't know, 20 by 30. I don't know if I'd ever actually printed that big. That seems rather large. But I mean, the lens resolves with amazing, amazing quality. So I hope you guys were able to gain a little bit more information on the performance between these M lenses and the native SL lenses. And I hope to be doing more of these gear reviews in the future. If there is any other questions or something that you've always wanted to know about Leica or about working with models or modeling agencies or fashion brands, photography, videography, or just the creative process, that's what the comments down below are for. Leave it down there, I'll take a look. If it's something that I think could be really helpful for the community, I'll definitely add it to my notebook of video ideas to do and put it in the queue. And until my next video, you should probably go check out one of these two videos in the meantime, just so you can get better acquainted with me and my work and my process. So until next time, I'm Quintana, and trust me, you're gonna like the way you shoot. Toodles.